This is what Jesus is showing us how to witness to someone who's living in sin. If you really dig into it, Jesus is giving us the blueprint on how to be able to talk to someone who's living a sinful life, to try to get them or persuade them to live for Christ. We as believers, we must take that time out and not condone the individual because of the way how they live in or how they lived at one time. We must, better not condone, we must not condemn them. We must recognize that there are people first and hate the sin. You got to learn how to separate that. A lot of times we attack the person, but it's not the person. It's the sin is the part that we don't like. So we got to make sure that we deal with the sin and not condemn the person. Amen. Now, for the most part, collectively, we as believers, we have to do a better job in bearing witness to Christ. Amen. We have to do a better job in bearing witness on Christ. And this is why we have to get better at bearing witness and talking about Christ. Verse 19, Sir, the woman said, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. Verse 21, Woman, Jesus replied, Believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. Verse 22, You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Check this out. We as believers, we must stop committing the same mistakes that we have made in the past by making people believe that our way is either the best way and the only way. Amen. We have to stop making the same mistakes, that our way is either the best way or the only way. Now, at the period of this exchange between the Samaritan woman and Jesus, at this point, the Samaritan woman, she represents the non-believers who want to serve God. But all they hear from us as believers are restrictions. They want to get their life right. They want to serve God. But from us, believers, all they hear is what we can't do. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't go over here. Can't act like that. Can't dress like this. We can't. We're always talking about restrictions. And that can push non-believers away because, the rules, it don't sound like it's fun or fulfilling to live for Christ. Also, in this exchange between the Samaritan woman and Jesus at this point, she also represents believers who want to truly serve God. But we have countless church leaders that will say you only can serve God this way. You can only look this way. You can only dress this way. You only got to act that way. You got to sound like this. You got to do this, etc., to get to Christ, or better yet, to experience Christ. So she represents both sides. The non-believers who want to get their things right, but they hear from us, always giving restrictions. We have believers that want to live right for God, want to experience God on a higher way. But we have church leaders and people that kiss butt all the time, the leaders, or try to act like the leaders and say, you can't do this, can't dress like that, can't put this on, can't smell that, can't put that, can't go over there, you worship like this, that's too loud, can't go over here, that's not the way, that's the only way to get the Lord experience into us. Restrictions come from both sides. And this is what the Samaritan woman was experiencing because of the restrictions there. In verse 20, it says, Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. Now, she had a sense that, about her sin. She had a sense that, something that she was doing was not right. And she knew that she needed to take care of it. And she truly wanted to worship God. But the question was, where do I worship, and where can I go to worship, my God? Now, at this time, in the text, it was disputed about where God's presence was really at, and it was also disputed about where a person should go to meet God at that time. That's how it was at that time. Now we know time has changed. But ever since Jesus had laid his life down for us, we know now that we can experience Christ's presence anywhere. Amen. We can experience Christ's presence anywhere. When he laid his life down for us, that changed the entire game. The restrictions was removed, and now we can celebrate and be in God's presence anywhere when he laid his life down. Amen. The woman's conviction, the Samaritan woman's convictions, was being stirred up in a big way. I mean, she was like really being stirred up, being really convicted. And when someone is in this situation where they've been heavily convicted and they want Jesus, we just have to do one thing: give them Jesus, not restrictions. Someone want to give their life to Christ, all right, but you got to do this, you can't do that, you can't, you got to go over here, you got to go over here. It's like, listen, I want what you have, sir, man, I want what you have. Just give me Jesus now. Do I have to wait till Sunday to go to your church to get Christ? No, give them Jesus on the spot. This is what the woman being so convicted, that's what she wanted. And we have to take an example of how to give Jesus to people. Jesus is giving us the blueprint on how to bear witness and how to lead someone to Christ. And he's not giving her. For more on this teaching, click on the YouTube link at the top of the bio and go to YouTube and check out the Convo Part 2, Jesus' Blueprint to Witness.